Hey friends, this is Lisa with the Sunshine Cafe, and today I have a bonus episode for you. You're going to hear some beautiful encouragement from Shannon Daley and how the work that she's done through Samaritan's Purse has, well, really changed lives. Shannon's going to share some incredible stories from the front lines that'll show you just how God works through everyday people who choose and are able to use their time and resources to help others. She volunteered for the organization for 11 years before becoming part of their staff, and she's been a staff member now for more than 10 years. She went from program manager to a field training manager, and so now she actually trains new program managers for Samaritan's Purse so they can be prepared when that phone rings and people are in need. Because disasters hit all around the world all the time, and Shannon, through the amazing programs that Samaritan's Purse offers, she works hard today, so her teams are prepared to help exactly when that call comes. She has some really powerful stories that I think you're going to really enjoy. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and hey, thanks for joining me today. I'm here just to pour some positive back into your day with practical tips and stories to encourage and inspire. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and you may not be familiar with the Samaritan's Purse, this amazing organization, but the hundreds and thousands of families who have been served and helped by this organization know them very, very well. And today, my guest is Shannon Daley. She has a fantastic history with this amazing organization that's really being the hands and feet of Jesus out there in the world for people. And I'm really excited to have her here and to help us learn a little bit more about the organization and to share some of her insights to what she's done. So Shannon, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you. And I know that you have a long history with working with Samaritan's Purse, I think 10 plus years, plus some other volunteering time that you have served. So because I don't assume that all of my listeners really understand what Samaritan's Purse is all about. And even though I said just a little bit on the front side of our introduction, could you help us understand a little bit at a high level what the organization's all about?
Absolutely. So, Samaritan's Purse is an international relief organization, and we go around the world helping people who are in need after disasters, be that wars or famine or natural disasters. And we're able to go and meet physical needs. But most importantly, we're able to go and be able to share the love of Jesus Christ with them and share that there is hope in the world, even in the midst of crisis and disaster. And so I specifically work at our North American ministries, where we respond predominantly to natural disasters. So those hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, all of those kinds of things, where we can go and we mobilize volunteers from all over the country to help those people, to help mud out their homes, to tarp their roofs, to use chainsaws, to cut up the trees, all of those kinds of things. And then at the same time, getting to know those homeowners, just loving on them at a time that they feel so alone and so forgotten. Our team can love on them, share encouragement with them, and most importantly, share the truth of Jesus Christ with them and to let them know that even when they feel alone, that there's a God who loves them and cares for them and sacrificed his son for them.
That's amazing. And we see stories of storms or stories of floods or things that come through, and it comes across our desk for such a short moment. But the people who are living those disasters deal with it for years on end to just get their life back together. Like you said, it's not just a matter of putting a building back together or getting the mud out of the basement. It's like the emotional impact that experience has had on their life and their families, not to mention, losing neighbors and loved ones. So I'm curious, what got you involved in the organization to start?
So it's quite funny. Like a lot of people, what I knew about Samaritan's Purse was Operation Christmas Child. So for viewers that aren't familiar with that, that's an opportunity for people around the world to pack shoe boxes with toiletries and school items and toys. And that little shoebox then is distributed around the world to poverty stricken parts of the world and have the opportunity for kids who have never received a gift before to get that first Christmas gift, that first gift they've ever received. And along with that comes the message of Jesus as well. And so that's all I knew of Samaritan's Purse. I got involved with that through a vacation Bible school program that we did at our church one year. That was our mission project through them. And so that's what I knew of Samaritan's Purse. And then this little storm named Hurricane Katrina hit the South. Uh, and my pastor, I was on staff at a church, and my pastor called me and said, "We need to go help these people. Do you see what's happening?" And, God just immediately brought to mind Samaritan's Purse. And I told my pastor, I said, "Look, I don't know, but I think Samaritan's Purse has a disaster relief arm. I'll look it up. We'll talk about it tomorrow after church." And so with that, he and I and three other guys, we were all seminary students, went down in January and responded with Samaritan's Purse, doing mud outs in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans. And I will tell you, fell in love with it. And so for the next 11 years, I was able to volunteer, was very thankful for an employer that allowed me to go where I wanted to go and whenever the need was. And so I was able to actively volunteer. God opened the door about 9 years ago, almost 10, to come on staff full time and to be able to go and do what it is that I love, what it is that God has planted in my heart is serving people who are in need.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I think this might be a good time to talk about this amazing background that's behind you because you mentioned Katrina as one of the hurricane reliefs and these trucks that are behind you for those who are able to see this podcast and not just listening to it. My friend Shannon here has this amazing background with these trucks that are kind of trucking along behind her. So tell us a little bit about how that integrates into a disaster relief effort.
Absolutely. So that big truck that's in that picture behind me, it's a regular 53-foot trailer, tractor trailer, and it is filled with supplies. It's based off of a NASCAR hauler. So downstairs, it has all the tools and chainsaws and those kind of things that people need, the tools needed to fix those things. And then upstairs, it has space to put larger items like tarp and wheelbarrows and all of those kind of things. And the front end of it is our office when we're in the field. We carry Starlink and different kinds of AT&T, Verizon connections so that we can always be connected. Because when you go into a disaster area, you never know how the infrastructure might be affected. And we still need to be able to communicate. We were a society that is very dependent on technology. And
Yes.
so we carry all that on that truck. And so that truck will go and will be parked at our church. So we partner with local churches whenever we respond. And that's where we house our volunteers. They'll bring air mattresses or cots and they sleep in the Sunday school rooms of the churches. But with that, we have need other support equipment. So in addition to that truck that's pictured there behind me, we have shower trailers and kitchen trailers and bunk trailers for our staff. We also have smaller box trucks. We call them disaster response vehicles. Those are stationed at churches all over the country, partner churches. And when they get a call within 24 to 48 hours, they come and bring those trucks to us and they're fully stocked and ready to deploy, ready to be out and be our team leads vehicles. And so they take those to the individual home sites and then that truck behind us is there to support with the extra equipment and to fix equipment that might break on those smaller trucks. And so it's just a great partnership that we have with those churches all over the country. We hope that they also bring with them some volunteers to be the first volunteers on the site to get us started as other volunteers are making their way there. But it does take a lot of equipment and a lot of people to be able to reach these communities quickly and be able to help them so they don't get to a point of desperation because they don't feel like anyone's coming.
Exactly. And it's easy to forget that when a disaster like that comes through, whether it be fire or flood or winds, it's not like these homeowners have their equipment anymore because whatever shovels or wheelbarrows or chainsaws that they might have had as a homeowner might have just gotten destroyed in that storm or whatever disaster came through. So you're coming through with this whole mobile unit, whether it be hospitals or housing or two by fours and chainsaws to help these people establish a little bit of sanity in the midst of a storm that hit them out of the blue.
Yes, ma'am. And we try to go in and be prepared because we never know when we get there what resources are going to be available. So we
Yeah,
bring everything in that we can. And that also helps us not be a burden on the community for those who do have the resources to go purchase those
sure.
items.
Yeah.
We're not trying to take that away from them. We're bringing it in so that the community can still sustain itself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'd be curious to know a little bit, Shannon, from your personal perspective, what are the unexpected surprises that you discovered as you started serving at Samaritan's Purse and being part of these teams?
Yeah, I will say, I'll go back to my first story. My very first homeowner I ever worked on, so almost 20 years ago after Katrina. And we were able to help. It was just myself and the 4 or 5 people that I had brought from my church were assigned to this home of this young lady who was a police officer in New Orleans at the time of Katrina. And we were there in January when a levee breached, late August, early September. So, and her home had not been touched. And so we were carrying everything out of her home and heartbreaking because all of her furniture was very heavy because it was all made by her father. So it's not like you could just go to IKEA and buy it again. Uh,
Yes.
right?
So when you
It's
say her
all
home hadn't been touched, it had been destroyed or had been hit by the storm, but then it hadn't been touched by helpers to make it back.
correct.
Okay.
She had not been in the home except to retrieve a few things that had survived. But there again, when your home is flooded over the roof, there's not much left. So she had quickly been in, but as far as removing any of the major
Mm.
items, none of that had been done. And so our team worked 4.5 days in her home to get that emptied out, get all the drywall out, get it sprayed for mold. And so 4.5 days, we were able to invest in her. Now, granted, we're several months after the storm, so she saw to work. But because her job was a police officer, she would stop by several times a day just on her route and check on us. I had the great privilege because I was the only female on the team. She would come and pick me up and take me to the closest restroom because she didn't want me using the porta potties on the street. So she was very sweet in that. And so I got the opportunity to really get to know her and hear her story. And I think that's the thing that impressed me the most and what kept drawing me back to it. Because anybody could pull out drywall. It's really not that hard to do, but to be able to sit and just listen to her and listen to her tell her stories about what she had experienced as a police officer in New Orleans after Katrina. And for those of us who are old enough to remember, those are some horrific stories, and every bit of it and more true from what she's told me. And just then how to encourage her as she was still dealing with grief of coworkers who, after Katrina, had committed suicide because of what they had seen and experienced. And so to be able to be there and be able to be a listening ear to her and be able to watch as progression happened on her home, and as she continued to tell her story, you can just see the healing,
Mhm.
right? You can see this relief being lifted up off of her. And so it just gave that opportunity to be able to be an encouragement to her. She was a believer in Christ. And so encouraging her in her faith and letting that be what sustains her through all of this was just amazing. And because I had never done anything like this before, I think it caught me off guard. I didn't know what to expect. I now have done this for almost 20 years, and it is still amazes me every time when God gives us that opportunity to meet that person who I've never had my house flood, right? I've never been through a tornado. I did grow up in South Texas, so I've experienced hurricanes and those kind of things, but we never experienced any damage from those. So I can't imagine what they go through. And then they start to tell you those stories. And it's just amazing to listen to, number one, what they are resilient through, but then for so many, how God has carried them through it. And they see that and recognize that and give him the glory for it.
That's amazing. There's so many things there, Shannon. You had mentioned how, drywall's not hard to pull out, and that is true, but it's really hard to do that alone. It's just the weight of that task. When you look at every wall in your home, then you realize every wall has to have this done to it. It's not like rocket science. It's not a difficult task to know how to do it, but to do that and to be tasked with that all by yourself while you're also having to work, that's a really difficult, almost too much of a daunting task to take on yourself. So I'm so glad that you and the team were able to come in there and help her. And then also, have you had a chance to follow up with her since to see how she's doing?
So she and I kept in contact for several years after that. I've not talked to her in several years now, but for 2 or 3 years after that, we contacted probably on about a quarterly basis, and
Mm.
just to hear her as she had on one of the trips when she had taken me to the store, we stopped at her dad's house that was a few blocks away. And again, no one had been in it to help clean it out yet. Like, it was next on the list. And so as she was able to tell me stories of that, and just as they were recovering from that, and her dad building a few things. Obviously, she bought furniture. He didn't rebuild everything for her house again, but there were some things that he was able to build. So they were still be able to have some of those heirloom pieces even after the storm. And just to hear her as time progressed and she was working through the grieving process and the healing process of all that she experienced, was just amazing to be able to walk alongside of her with a little bit of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know a lot of people who have never volunteered, especially in something like this. Say they might volunteer at something local or do something with their church, but Tell the listeners and myself a little bit about what kinds of unexpected rewards did you see from being able to participate in something like this?
Yeah, I think for me, again, I never had done anything like this. I'm not a builder or a construction worker by any means, but just the fact that God does provide for us the skills and the ability and the strength. Because let's be honest, I said it's not hard to do, but it does take a lot of energy and strength to do it. But God provides that when you don't have it. And so that was one of those things that was just amazing. And then the other thing that we watch happen so often is that there'll be a specific need at a home, whether that be a specific need with the work or a specific thing that that homeowner is going through, and God provides someone who knows how to either do whatever it is in that home. So maybe it's an issue with the hot water heaters. Got a new one, but they don't have it connected. And there's a plumber on the team who can connect the hot water heater. Not something we normally do, but they're able to do that. Or there's that homeowner who lost their husband a year ago and now they've lost their home. And what do you know? But God has put somebody on that team who lost their husband in the last year, right? And so they're able to make that connection and be able to bond and support each other. And I think that's one of the things that amazes me the most is how God puts just the right people at just the right time together from all over the world, from literally all over the world. We have some volunteers that come from Australia and Canada to serve with us as well. And so it just amazes me how God does that and how he provides. And so I do. I sit back and our teams come back in the evenings and just start telling the stories of what happened that day.
Mhm.
And we do. We serve a great God who does amazing things.
Yeah, that is so, so true. And I think sometimes we get so busy in our own little myopic world that we forget that there's a great big world out there and people who need connection. And I don't know about you, Shannon, but I know with this little with a bit of like an epidemic of depression going on that we see with our young people and even with adults these days, it feels like getting out of our own circle and serving someone else is often the best prescription for opening our eyes to joy and happiness in a way that we never realized. So, what would you say to someone who's maybe out there listening, who's never volunteered and might want to entertain that idea? What would you say?
Well, I would definitely encourage them to do so. I would encourage you, even if you have zero skill sets or you think you have zero skill sets, you've never done it, maybe you're uncomfortable because you'd have to go by yourself. You're going to join a team of people who, to be honest, become instant family. I have my biologic family and then I have my Samaritan's Purse family. And they're volunteers who just come out and serve. And again, we're all serving for that same purpose. And even while we're there, I watch so often we say that we're there for the homeowners. We're there to serve the homeowners. That's what everybody's coming for. But then we get to that share time at night when people are coming in and sharing about their day. And they're like, that homeowner blessed me more than I could have ever blessed them. Right.
Right?
They've encouraged me more, in the midst of their crisis, encourage that volunteer in something that they're struggling with. And so I always encourage going out and serving, get outside of our own little bubble and circle and
Mhm.
thinking about ourselves all the time and start to think about others opens the world to maybe my life is not as difficult as I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you said it so very well. It's that when we start serving other people and we start seeing the impact that we can make just by coming alongside another human being, we start to feel more blessed even than we feel we're blessing someone else. The work that we put out is returned exponentially by, the joys that we just see in helping another person uh, to survive and improve their life and to come out of their depression of loss and grief and things that they're going through. Well, wonderful.
Absolutely.
I so appreciate your time. Before we wrap up here, are there any story that kind of surfaces or something you'd want to encourage listeners with about the work that you've done with Samaritan's Purse?
Absolutely. Oh, there's so many stories. We could be here hours
I know,
be telling
trying to be
stories.
sensitive to your time.
I don't know, right? And me and yours. I think of just a couple people that come to mind of just their specific stories about why we serve. And I think of a gentleman, he was in Oklahoma after a flood, and he was in the home, and there's a video on our website about him. But he was a veteran. He had lost everything in his home. And he told us straight up on the video he was ready to commit suicide. He was going to walk away from it all, including life, is how he phrased it. And then a team showed up in his driveway as he was contemplating that. And they came and they got at his house and they loved on him. They shared the gospel with him and he accepted Jesus Christ as his savior. And then one of the most exciting things is we got to watch him through the partnership we have with the church. While we were still there responding, he got baptized. And then we've been back to this church just a couple years ago. And this gentleman is still very actively involved in that church, serving in that church, went out and helped gut out homes with us while we were there again. And so just to see that full circle of someone who was at complete desperation, who God intervened in their lives and provided people to be his messengers of truth and of eternity for him. And then to see how God has changed him so much that he is now the servant and not the recipient. It's just an amazing story of just full circle. He is a special one because I know his full story, right? Because I had the connection with the pastor of the church
Yeah.
there. And we went back to that church. And so we saw it for ourselves. Where so often, we go in and we help and then we're gone.
Sure.
Right. And I keep in talk with the pastors of the places where I've served, but not always do I know specific people
Yeah.
or be able to see it just like that. Right. Or the other people might connect with a different church than the one we partnered with. And
Yeah.
so it is exciting when we get to see that full circle. I've got another one of those out of Boone. That's a similar story. And
From the North Carolina storms?
yes.
Okay.
And so this gentleman who asked why we would help him because he was a professor and he spoke badly of our organization on a regular basis. Why would we help him? And through the course of going and helping him, he's accepted Christ. He's in that church. There are gentlemen in that church who are discipling him. And so it's just amazing to be able to see that.
Oh my goodness. It's like a regular real day Saul Paul kind of guy.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I I would think it would be really hard to go in and serve these people. And I mean, you'd want to like know all of their stories and to, follow up with all of them. But like you said, it's probably really hard to get individual updates on everybody. But you can just have that peace of mind of knowing that you're serving and God knows where you're needed and you'll go where God needs you. So
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And again, I give story after story of those things or how God protected people through storms. But I just encourage people, if you have never responded to a disaster before, whether that's locally or whether that's around the world, I encourage you to look for opportunity to do so. One of the places you can do that is SamaritansPurse.org. And there's a spot you can get involved, and it will show you every place that we're involved, that we are accepting volunteers, whether that be on a disaster site with a cleanup or whether it be through one of our rebuild programs. And I'll even say with our rebuild, I used to take people from my church on rebuilds all the time because we could kind of plan ahead for those versus a disaster. You just have to drop everything and go, right?
right.
You don't know when they're going to hit. And again, I've probably held a hammer in my life before a rebuild project, but I have never built anything anybody would want to live in. But God used us and allowed us to be able to be a part of that process that, you get trained in the field as you go. And then don't shy away from doing something because you don't think that you're skilled at it. God provides. And so please go out and volunteer.
And what a great organization to start with if you've never done it, because Samaritan's Purse is so well organized and has so many resources to help the volunteers and the people you're serving to really succeed on both sides of it. So it's a great place to start. I will make sure that that link is in the show notes here so people can sign up for that. And if you're out there listening and you're not really able to pack your bags and go somewhere right now and volunteer, certainly Samaritan's Purse is a wonderful organization to support with your prayers, to support with your dollars, and of course, your time if you're able. So I hope that people will go out there and do that. Shannon, thank you for your time. Thank you for continuing to serve and be the hands and feet of Jesus for people out there who really need that encouragement, as well as the physical support on the buildings that they're living in or wanting to live in. I just so appreciate your time and stopping by today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Lisa, for your time and for getting the word out.
I just love hearing about the work that Shannon's doing with Samaritan's Purse. So I have 5 great takeaways for you today. Number 1, serve even if you feel unskilled. You do not need to be an expert to make a difference. Samaritan's Purse trains volunteers on the ground, and God will provide the skills, the strengths, and the opportunity that you need to impact lives. So don't be afraid to step out of that comfort zone to say yes to serving others. Even in a small way, you'll be amazed at how God equips you to bless others and grow personally in the process. In fact, most people who do volunteer to serve say that they got even more out of the opportunity than they gave, which leads me to takeaway number 2. Serving others often blesses you more than it might even bless them. When you step out to help others, you'll see joy and gratitude return even to your own heart in ways you might never have expected. Volunteering isn't just about what you give. It's about that life-changing perspective shift and the joy that comes from seeing God work through you. Number 3, every act of help has an eternal potential. Samaritan's Purse doesn't just meet physical needs. They bring hope and the message of Jesus. One single act of service, like helping with a disaster response or packing a Christmas shoebox, can have a ripple effect into a spiritual impact, planting a seed for another to consider Christ, or even helping that person realize exactly how much they need Jesus. God can use you to plant seeds of hope that will last a lifetime. Number 4, community and connection multiply our impact. Teams from all over the world come together to serve. God puts the right people in the right place at the right time. And your presence matters, even if it seems like you're just doing something really small. But when you serve, you're part of a team, and every hand and heart counts. Together, you get to create a transformation that's far beyond what just one person could do alone. And finally, number 5, don't wait. My friends, don't wait. Jump on those opportunities when the doors open, because disasters happen all around us unexpectedly and all around the world. The sooner you respond, the sooner someone who needs help can get help and lives can be restored. And let's just acknowledge that as a new volunteer, you're never going to probably feel like this is the right time. So just jump on in knowing that you're going to feel uncomfortable, but also know that when you finish that time of serving, you are going to feel so grateful that you did. It's going to change someone's life for the better and probably change their life forever. Now, before we wrap up today, I have one last quick thing I do want to share with you. I want to give you a quick opportunity to make a difference this Christmas season. The Samaritan's Purse has a very special program that they have been offering now for more than 30 years, so you might be familiar with it. The program is called Operation Christmas Child, and the program collects and distributes shoebox gifts to children in need around the world. Kind of like these shoeboxes right here behind me, but you don't need a box exactly like that. Any shoebox will do just fine. Take your shoebox and fill it with small toys, washcloths, towels, a small Bible, school supplies of any sort, comb and hair accessories for girls, or other stickers and things small children would love to enjoy around the world. And then bring it to a Samaritan's Purse drop-off location. Then they will do the rest. Now, if you do need to locate a drop-off location, I put a link right here in the show notes that you can search for one that's closest to you. But I just want you to know this is the last weekend to help out this season. They need time to get those boxes delivered to these young kids. So go grab your shoebox and fill it up today, and then bring it on over to a drop-off location. Each box is a tangible way to show God's love to a little one who might never receive a gift. And the box includes also a booklet which shares the message of Jesus with them. So you might be changing the life of a little one for eternity. Thank you for joining me today, friends. If this episode has impacted you, please go ahead and share it, because you never know what kind of encouragement might be in our conversation that someone else could really benefit from. So pass it along, like it, share it, and subscribe. Together we can flood the world with more encouragement. Until next time, stay encouraged, be inspired, and I'll see you right back here next week at the Sunshine Cafe.